My brother stole my Mustang, crashed it, left me drowning in $35,000 debt. Mom and Dad, they took his side. Then a letter revealed their secret. I was sprawled on my best friend's couch in Seattle, laughing over a dumb movie, when my phone buzzed. It was Mom, her voice shaky, saying my younger brother Ethan was in the hospital. My stomach dropped. She said he'd been in an accident, critical condition, and I needed to come now. I pressed her for details, my heart racing. Then it hit me like a freight train. She mentioned my car, my 1969 Ford Mustang, the one I'd poured every penny into restoring. Ethan had taken it, drunk, and slammed it into a tree. My vision blurred with rage. That car wasn't just metal, it was my dream, tied to memories of Granddad. I grabbed my keys, told my friend I'd explain later, and sped to Harborview Medical Center. The city lights blurred as I drove, my mind a mess of anger and worry. Ethan, always the golden child, never faced consequences. At 19, he still acted like a reckless kid, and Mom and Dad always bailed him out. I'd spent years saving for that Mustang, working overtime as an electrical engineer, skipping vacations to afford the cherry red paint job Granddad always dreamed of. Now it was probably scrap, and Ethan might not make it. I gripped the steering wheel, torn between wanting him safe and wanting to scream at him for his stupidity. At the hospital, the sterile smell hit me hard. I rushed to the front desk, my voice sharp, asking for Ethan. The nurse pointed me to the waiting room. There they were, Mom, Dad, and a few relatives, all pale and whispering. I hugged Mom, her eyes red from crying. What happened? I asked, dreading the answer. She took a deep breath. Ethan had been speeding, lost control, and hit a tree. The Mustang was totaled. Worse, he had spinal injuries. The doctors weren't sure he'd walk again or move anything below his shoulders. My knees buckled. I sank into a chair, my mind spinning. Paralyzed? My little brother? I wanted to punch a wall, but Mom's sobs kept me frozen. I tried to balance the heartbreak with my fury. That car was my pride, my connection to Granddad, who'd died before I could buy it for him to see. I'd spent $30,000 on it, every cent from my own sweat. Now it was gone, and Ethan's life hung by a thread. Mom caught me muttering about the car and snapped, "Forget the car, pray for your brother." I bit my tongue. Of course, I wanted Ethan to live, but her dismissal stung. It was always about him, never about what I lost. Dad just sat there, nodding at her words, like my feelings didn't matter. I stared at the waiting room's beige walls, the clock ticking too loud, feeling like I was drowning in their favoritism. Ethan's recklessness had cost me everything, and they acted like it was nothing. I clenched my fists, trying to focus on Ethan's survival, but the anger wouldn't let go. How could they brush off my loss so easily? Sitting in the hospital waiting room, the hum of the fluorescent lights drilled into my skull. Mom's words echoed, "Forget the car, pray for Ethan." I wanted to scream. My 1969 Mustang, my blood and sweat, was gone, and they acted like it was nothing. Ethan, my 19-year-old brother, had always been their favorite, the kid who could do no wrong. I stared at the floor, my chest tight, as memories from childhood flooded back, each one a reminder of how I'd always been pushed aside. When I was 7, I had this teddy bear, Mr. Snuggs, my only real treasure. I'd lug it everywhere, sleep with it, talk to it like it was my best friend. One day, Ethan, barely 4, begged for a puppy. Mom and Dad got him one, a yappy little mutt named Rusty. I came home from school to find Mr. Snuggs torn to shreds, stuffing scattered across our Tacoma living room, one arm in the kitchen. Ethan had let Rusty chew it up. I cried for hours, but Mom just sighed. "You shouldn't have left it out." Dad made me clean up the mess, saying I needed to be more responsible. Ethan, he got a pat on the head and a new toy the next day. That was the pattern. Ethan's wants came first, and I was left picking up the pieces. Back in the hospital, I looked at Mom, her eyes fixed on the surgery ward's door. "How's he doing?" I asked, my voice flat. She shook her head, tears spilling. "They're still operating. It's bad, Mark." Dad, sitting beside her, didn't even look at me. I wanted to ask why they never set boundaries for Ethan, why they let him run wild, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I muttered, "He took my car, my life's work." Mom's face hardened. "Mark, he's fighting for his life. Stop being selfish." Selfish? I'd poured $30,000 into that Mustang, every cent from late nights at my engineering job. I bit my lip, tasting blood, and sank back into the chair. Another memory hit me. At 12, I saved up for a bike, mowing lawns all summer. Ethan, 8, wanted one too, but instead of making him earn it, Dad bought him a shiny new one. Mine was secondhand, wobbly, but I loved it. Ethan crashed his into a ditch within a week, and somehow I got blamed for not watching him. "You're the older brother," Dad said. "Act like it." I'd always been the one who had to be responsible, while Ethan got a free pass. Now, here we were again, Ethan's mess, my loss, and no one cared. The waiting room clock ticked on, each second heavier than the last. I wanted to forgive Ethan, to focus on his survival, but the unfairness burned. Mom and Dad's favoritism had shaped him into this reckless kid who thought he could take anything, my car, my savings, my peace, and walk away unscathed. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. If Ethan had listened, if Mom and Dad had ever held him accountable, we wouldn't be here. My dream car wouldn't be a crumpled wreck, and I wouldn't be sitting here, torn between love for my brother and rage at a family that always chose him over over me. The hospital's waiting room faded as I drove back to my Tacoma apartment, the weight of Ethan's accident crushing me. My 1969 Mustang was gone, and the insurance company's call the next day made it worse. Ethan wasn't on my policy, so they refused to cover the $35,000 in damages from the crash. I was staring at a debt that could ruin me, hundreds of thousands I'd never planned for. My savings, meant for a new house closer to my job in Seattle, were now a pipe dream. I sat on my couch, bills piling up, feeling like the ground had been ripped out from under me. At work, things unraveled fast. I'm an electrical engineer at a firm in downtown Seattle, designing systems for high-rise projects. It's demanding, but I used to thrive on it. Now, my mind was a fog of rage and worry. I'd stare at my computer, schematics blurring, unable to focus. Deadlines slipped. My supervisor, Lisa, started hovering, her brow furrowed. "Mark, you okay? You've been off lately." I'd nod, mutter something about stress, but the truth was, I was drowning. Ethan's stunt had cost me my car, my savings, and now my focus. I'd spent years building a reputation for precision, but now my drawings were sloppy, full of errors. One day, I overheard my coworker, Emily, complaining to Lisa during lunch. "I'm doing Mark's work on top of mine," she said, her voice sharp. "It's not fair. I have to fix his mistakes, and it's slowing me down." My heart sank. Emily was right. I was dropping the ball, and others were paying for it. I wanted to snap out of it, to be the reliable guy who turned in perfect work early, but every time I tried, my phone would buzz. Debt collectors. They called daily, pushing payment plans I couldn't afford. One offered a $500 a month deal, but even that was impossible on my salary. I was trapped, my life unraveling because of Ethan's recklessness. I started staying late at the office, trying to catch up, but it was useless. I'd sit there, mouse unmoving, staring at my screen like a zombie. My colleagues noticed. Whispers followed me in the break room. "What's wrong with Mark?" they'd ask, thinking I couldn't hear. I felt like a failure, my confidence shredded. I'd poured everything into that Mustang, late nights, skipped weekends, every extra dollar. It wasn't just a car, it was my tribute to Granddad, who'd dreamed of driving one. Now it was gone, and I was sinking under debt while Ethan lay in a hospital bed, shielded by Mom and Dad's excuses. The stress bled into everything. I'd wake up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, calculating how I'd ever pay off this debt. Sell my car, my furniture. My apartment wasn't enough. I'd have to sell my house in Tacoma, the one I'd planned to keep as a backup. The thought made me sick. I'd worked so hard to build a life, to move closer to my job, to have something solid. Now, because of Ethan, it was slipping away. I wanted to scream at him, to ask why he thought he could take my car, my life, and face no consequences. But he was still in surgery, fighting to walk again, and my anger felt like a betrayal. So I buried it, let it fester, and watched my world crumble under the weight of his mistake. The hospital's sterile halls felt suffocating as I drove back to Harborview Medical Center in Seattle, my mind a storm of debt notices and work failures. Ethan was out of surgery, stable but facing more operations. I needed to talk to Mom and Dad, to make them see what his recklessness had cost me: my 1969 Mustang, my savings, my peace. But as I approached Ethan's room, I overheard them talking, their voices low and urgent. "We can't increase his allowance," Dad said. "The medical bills are too much." My blood ran cold. Allowance? Ethan was 19, and they were still giving him money? I froze, my hand on the door, listening. I pushed it open, and they jumped, Mom's face paling like she'd seen a ghost. "Mark, you're here," she stammered, trying to smile. I didn't smile back. "What allowance?" I asked, my voice sharp. Dad looked away, fidgeting with his coffee cup. Mom tried to pivot, asking about my day at work, but I wasn't letting it go. "How much have you been giving him?" I pressed. Silence hung heavy. Then Dad muttered, $500 a week, since he was 13. My jaw dropped. $500 a week for 6 years? That was over $150,000 handed to a kid who couldn't even respect my car. I felt like I'd been punched. Growing up in Tacoma, I'd begged for a new backpack, a video game, anything, and got nothing but lectures about earning it myself. Meanwhile, Ethan got cash, toys, a puppy, all without lifting a finger. I'd worked summers to buy my first bike, while Ethan got a better one for free. Now, as an adult, I was drowning in $35,000 of debt from his crash, and they were still bankrolling him. "Why didn't I get an allowance?" I asked, my voice shaking. Mom's eyes darted to Dad, then back to me. "You were always so responsible, Mark. Ethan needed more help." Needed help? He needed boundaries. Their coddling had turned him into a reckless brat who thought he could take my Mustang and walk away. I laughed, bitter and hollow. "So you rewarded him for being irresponsible, and now I'm paying for it?" Dad stood, his face red. "He's your brother, Mark. He's hurt. Show some compassion." Compassion? I'd lost everything, my car, my savings, my dreams of a house near Seattle, all because they never taught him consequences. I pointed at them. "You made him this way. You enabled him, and now I'm the one buried in debt." Mom started crying, saying I was being cruel, but I didn't care. The betrayal cut deep. They'd chosen Ethan over me my whole life, from Mr. Snuggs to this moment. I thought of Granddad, how he'd believed in me, how that Mustang was my way of honoring him. They didn't get it. They never would. "I'm done," I said, my voice low, trembling with rage. "I'm done cleaning up his messes while you pretend it's my fault." I turned and walked out, their protests fading behind me. The hospital's cold air hit my face, but it couldn't cool the fire in my chest. They'd betrayed me, and I wasn't sure I could ever forgive them. The drive back from Harborview Medical Center felt like escaping a prison. My parents' betrayal handing Ethan $500 a week while I scraped by burned in my chest. I couldn't stay in Tacoma, drowning in debt and resentment. The insurance company wouldn't budge on the $35,000 I owed for Ethan's crash, and my job in Seattle was hanging by a thread. I had to make a choice, keep fighting their mess or save myself. I chose me. I listed my house for sale, the one I'd planned to keep as a fallback. It sold fast, but for less than I hoped, $200,000, just enough to clear the debt. It hurt, letting go of that stability, but I needed a clean break. I found a small apartment in Portland, Oregon, only 20 minutes from a new job I'd landed at a better engineering firm. The pay was higher, enough to start rebuilding. Moving day was bittersweet. I packed my life into boxes, leaving behind memories of Ethan's chaos and my parents' favoritism. The Portland skyline felt like a promise, a fresh start, far from their drama. I settled into my new place, a cozy one-bedroom with a view of the Willamette River. For the first time in months, I breathed easier, the weight of their expectations lifting. I needed something to fill the void left by my Mustang. In Portland, I stumbled across a classic car club, a group of gearheads who loved old-school rides. At my first meetup, I saw it a 1969 Mustang, rough around the edges, but with potential. It wasn't my cherry red beauty, but it was close. I bought it for $15,000, a fixer-upper I could pour my heart into. Every weekend, I'd tinker in a rented garage, sanding rust, tweaking the engine, feeling Granddad's pride from somewhere above. The club became my family, people who got why that car mattered, who didn't judge me for caring about something I'd built, but the scars from my family ran deep. I started therapy, meeting a counselor named Dr. Ellis twice a month. She helped me unpack the years of being overshadowed by Ethan. I talked about Mr. Snuggs, the bike, the Mustang, how Mom and Dad always chose him. "You've been carrying their neglect your whole life," Dr. Ellis said. It hit hard. I wasn't just angry about the car. I was angry about a childhood spent feeling invisible. Therapy wasn't a cure, but it was a start. I learned to set boundaries, to stop letting their choices define me. Visiting Ethan in rehab was a mistake. He was improving, walking with a cane, but every conversation turned sour. Mom and Dad would hover, defending him, blaming me for holding a grudge. "He's alive, Mark. Be grateful," Mom said once, as if my pain didn't count. Ethan smirked, blaming me for his rough year. I'd leave each visit shaking, my resolve to stay away growing stronger. One night, after another argument where Dad called me ungrateful, I wrote them a letter. I poured out everything, how their favoritism broke me, how I loved them, but couldn't keep drowning in their chaos. I told them I was moving on, starting fresh in Portland, and asked them not to contact me. Mailing that letter felt like cutting a chain. In Portland, life slowly clicked into place. My new job challenged me, my Mustang project gave me purpose, and therapy helped me heal. I made friends in the car club, people who shared my passion. I'd drive my half-finished Mustang to meets, grinning as strangers admired it. For the first time, I felt like I was building something for me, not cleaning up Ethan's messes. I thought I'd escaped the drama until that call from the authorities came, threatening to pull me back in. Life in Portland was finally mine. My new job paid well, my Mustang was coming together, and therapy was helping me bury the pain of my family's betrayal. I thought I'd left Ethan's chaos behind. Then my phone rang a call from the Portland Police Department. My heart sank. Ethan, my reckless brother, had struck again. He'd used one of my old credit cards, racking up $10,000 in charges with a shady crew flipping stolen cars. They'd buy wrecks cheap, fix them up, and sell them to clueless buyers for a profit. My name was tied to it, and the cops were sniffing around. I sat on my apartment floor, staring at the Willamette River through my window, my stomach churning. Ethan hadn't just taken my Mustang. Now he was dragging my credit through the mud. I called the credit card company, my voice shaking but firm. "Those charges aren't mine," I said. I explained Ethan's history, his theft, his crash, his lack of consequences. They froze the account, and I closed it for good, severing the last thread tying me to him. The cops confirmed Ethan was in custody, but I didn't care to hear more. I was done bailing him out, done letting his messes ruin me. The betrayal stung, but it wasn't just Ethan. Mom and Dad's faces flashed in my mind, their excuses, their $500 a week handouts that made him this way. I'd sold my Tacoma house, lost my dream car, and moved to Portland to escape their favoritism. Yet here was Ethan, still finding ways to hurt me. I leaned against the wall, my breath uneven. Part of me felt guilty, knowing Mom and Dad were likely panicking over Ethan's arrest, but I couldn't save them from his chaos anymore. I'd spent my life cleaning up his messes. Mr. Snuggs, my bike, my Mustang, and I was finished. I walked to my garage, where my new Mustang sat, half restored, its chrome glinting under the lights. It wasn't just a car, it was my rebellion, my proof I could rebuild without them. I ran my hand over the hood, thinking of Granddad, how he'd smile seeing me fight for my own happiness. The car club, my new friends, my job, they were my family now. I didn't need Mom, Dad, or Ethan to feel whole. Closing that credit card felt like locking a door. No more calls, no more drama. I was free, but freedom was bittersweet. As I worked on on my Mustang that night, a pang hit me. Mom and Dad would keep enabling Ethan, and he'd keep dragging them down. I'd escaped, but they were still trapped in his cycle. I shook it off, focusing on the wrench in my hand. I'd built a new life in Portland, new job, new car, new peace. Ethan's latest stunt couldn't take that from me. I turned up the radio, letting the music drown out the past. For the first time, I felt light, like I could finally drive forward without looking back.